Today, I have the pleasure, the joy, and the honor to introduce to you cast members from Stand and Deliver and our own casting director. So I want to go around the table and just introduce everybody real quick so you know who's here. We got Danny VILARREAL, who played the Fingerman.
Hello.
We have Will Gauthier, who played Pancho. Me, Lydia Nicole, who played RAFAELA. I forgot who I played. Tony Livingston Hicks, who was our casting director.
Yay, Tony.
Patrick BACA, who played
Javier.
Javier.
The know-it-all.
And Victor Garcia, who played Eddie's son in the movie.
Jaime Jr.
Jaime Jr. Well, I wanted to bring everybody to the table. I only got some people, but it's a good, the table is only but so big.
Yeah, we would need a bigger table.
One of the things that I want to start it off by is asking the casting process. What did you go through casting Stand and Deliver?
Okay. The most interesting part about this process was we got hired on the premise that we would be willing to go into the barrio and look for unknowns. And I said, you mean the barrio high schools? Because that's what we need. He said, yes. Okay. So we agreed so that we got the job, right? So then I had to go set up meetings with teachers and high schools in East LA to go find real kids, because that's what our passionate director wanted. So
Ramon Menendez.
Yay!
Yes.
Ramon.
So we did. We had 3 schools set up, and it was obvious. Okay, mind you, these kids know nothing about acting. And so here is this person giving them things to read and kind of memorize and then come in and do something for us. And I said, okay, they're all so freaked out, I can't do this. Let's try a little improv. Let's pretend you're in class and your teacher comes in. Let's see what you would do. They sat there. They didn't want to do anything. They were scared out of their minds. I said, okay, Ramon, this is not working, as you can see. He goes, well, where are those? And he said, where are those actors? I said, they're not here. They're in these kids are in high school. And yes, while one day, I did in Illinois, I did find a kid. It was amazing. He was a natural. And, so it can happen. It just was not happening for us. So I said, okay, let me just suggest that there are actually Hispanic actors in Hollywood that have been playing nothing but gang members for the last 5 years. Maybe we could give them a chance to play smart kids. They can act. They've had experience, and let's give them a chance. And he goes, do you think that would work? I said, well, I think that's what we need to try.
And we all thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, and thank you, Tom, because, Ramon was like, okay, I'll see what we have. I said, well, this was my chance. This is my chance to get all those kids in and give them actual lines that they can say, and he was amazed. Okay, he was amazed. Now then, the other problem we had was they're supposed to be high school kids, sophomore to senior, and by then we had, well, as soon as we had Lou Diamond Phillips, who wanted to do the role. Now he's playing a high school kid, and Lou was not, he was older than high school. And so I said, now that we have Lou, I have to find you the youngest looking kid I can, so we had that we can get a balance. Somebody answered an ad from a paper. She sent me her high school senior picture and a letter stating that she thought she was Anna, and that was Vanessa. And I saw that picture, and she looked 12. I said, oh my goodness. And she's a senior, So I brought her in, and the rest was history on that girl. She just knew what to do. She was Anna. She was that shy little thing, but she was not shy about reading in front of anyone. When Eddie came in for the callbacks, he was there, and everybody just looked and said, oh my goodness, So which proves a little bit that Ramon could have been right, but she'd already graduated, and you have to search. You have to have time to do that kind of a search with high school kids that have never, read for a casting director before. You can't just call and say, can you just bring me some kids? So then what we did was we were able to cast various looks that made it look like they were all part of the same class. It was the hardest thing to do. It really was.
Weren't there like 7 callbacks or 8 callbacks? Like just lining everybody up together?
Because the director, he had a hard time communicating a lot of things.
Ramon?
So he didn't, yes, Ramon. And he didn't quite know what to ask for, you know?
Yes.
I mean, and a casting director should have, I mean, you try to have enough time in the to prepare them and to say, but and usually directors, after they see 3 or 4 actors, I get an idea of what they're looking for, so I can prep the next 3 coming in. And with him, he was not communicating. What are you looking for? You know, and to me, the people that I brought in exemplified the characteristics of the character. Shy, you know, confident.
Mm-hmm.
Do I really want to be here? Shouldn't I do something else? You know, I sort of had an idea, and I was just, I didn't understand what he really wanted. And it wasn't until when Eddie Olmos came, he knew what he was looking for, and he convinced him. He said, I need that guy. That's the guy.
I want to talk to you because you were a PA, right?
That's right.
When it started. And so you were watching all these auditions. What was your takeaway from it?
Well, it kind of goes along with what you're saying. Like, Ramon was looking for something, and he didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
None of us did,
Yeah.
you know. But as we went along, we saw it. It started coming in. When you came in, that was like, that's the guy. Yeah, of course, you know, when Vanessa came in, it was like, we gotta have her, you know. But all of us were a little older. I was 27, you know, when we did that movie.
So was that?
You know,
26.
you know, so it was
But we knew how old you were, so
Yeah,
we knew how old.
right.
So it was like, it's really you have to balance it. I mean, Carla had that face. She had that sweet little, she had a young face. So so we have to have that.
Yeah.
You know, Vanessa had that. So we had to make sure, and he actually had that really young face.
Me
So
too.
we
I had it
did.
too.
I don't know about you. But it was a really good mix. It wasn't like Welcome Back, Kotter, you know, because everybody
Right,
looks like
right.
they're
Yeah.
80, you know. But it really worked out.
Yeah.
And then also what I saw along the lines of what you're saying, being behind the camera, taping the auditions, was that I think we pretty much saw every young actor
We did.
in LA, in Hollywood, and wherever they were. I mean,
did.
everybody came in. Remember the Estevez kids? They all came in.
Really?
You know,
Ramon, yeah.
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 So
That was my first film.
it was it.
Yeah, it was my first film.
So it was great. It was great just narrowing it down, and finally it did take a bit of time.
And I never asked Lou how he found out about it. He knew about Jaime, and he somehow he must have contacted Eddie, because Lou was not a star when he did
He had
that.
just done
he
La Bamba.
had
Right.
done
It had
he had
been
done it,
released.
but it hadn't been
Right.
released.
Right.
Hadn't somebody seen the film at a festival?
We
And
went to a
called
screening.
him?
We went to a screening of
Screening.
Of La
like a
Bamba.
private screening of La Bamba
So Ramon did,
for
or,
the director,
or Eddie,
yeah.
or Eddie almost.
for the producer, the director.
Okay, so Ramon
They had
did.
seen it.
Yeah.
So they knew what
And he
was
was
coming
and he
Oh,
was
yeah.
in his
and-
career.
They had
knew what,
they
yeah.
had to have him.
Yeah, yeah.
And our friend was Andy Garcia, and we knew that if Andy read the script, he knew about, and
Oh,
he
wow.
knew about Jaime, he would want to do it.
That was
And
great.
it was before Untouchables and before,
Right.
you know,
Mhm.
so we knew he was going to be big. So that was
Yeah.
going to help
Yeah.
the movie too. I mean,
Yeah.
we were doing this for American Playhouse.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Lindsay
Now,
Lohan.
okay, so
Lindsay
so
Lohan.
that brings me to, I didn't want to go there that quickly,
Okay.
but it brings me to a question. Did you know when you were doing it for American Playhouse that Warner Brothers had bought it?
No, it wasn't.
No, that was
No,
way.
it was
way
after.
No,
after.
no, wait a second.
No.
When the film came out, I sat with people at Warner Brothers who said they had already made the deal. Before that, yes, they had.
Before Mill
They-
Valley?
They had already made before.
Oh.
They had already, they knew this was going to be a big movie, but they funneled it through American Playhouse.
Mm.
I didn't know
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
a little tidbit.
I worked at a film company, and one of the women I worked with's husband worked at Warner Brothers in publicity. And when I had mentioned something to her, she knew that I was acting, and I said something about Stand and Deliver, and she was like, "Oh, that's really nice." And then she kind of like walked away. Like a week later, she hunted me down, and she says, "You were in that movie, right, with all the Latinos?" And, yeah.
The Latino.
And I said, well, "Yeah, we kind of talked about it yesterday." And she told me that they made a deal at that point, that they saw it once, and some deal was made, but all of a sudden I became royalty because Warner Brothers picked it up. So, and I thought it was in the springtime. When did it release? I don't even remember when this film released. Was it
Yeah.
springtime?
Yeah.
So this was
No,
around.
actually, it didn't release till the winter.
So Warner Brothers.
So Warner Brothers picked it up.
Yeah,
early.
But not,
It came
not
out-
after Mill Valley?
When
I thought it was a negative
was Mill
pickup
Valley.
based on
Technically.
the Mill
Because
Valley.
originally it was American Playhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
It was called Walking on Water.
Walking on
Right.
water, right.
And they only had like a little bit of money.
Right.
And then Tom brought in money from Arco and Pepsi.
Correct.
remember that.
Right.
I
I remember
You
that.
know, they matched that money.
Mhm.
But the studios had passed on
But
it.
that's how they got scale plus
Right.
10.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It was
Well,
American
below
Playhouse.
scale plus 10.
Yeah.
It was below. We did it for below scale plus 10 because it was the first time I'd ever work on a project that I heard. Because I'm a minority, I get paid less.
It was
than
favored
scale.
nations.
It was
No,
favored
but-
nations, though.
No, it was below. Because I remember being stunned at the fact that
The rate was a little lower.
it was very low. I had worked on other projects
low
and I
budget rate.
couldn't
So it was favored
understand.
nations at
At
whatever
a low
the
budget
agreement
rate.
was.
Yeah.
Right.
Low
Yeah, it was like
budget
a
Right.
rate.
lower-
Okay,
Right.
yeah,
You're right.
lower-
You're right.
Right.
American
The
Playhouse.
low
right.
budget
Which-
agreement.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
still in
yeah.
existence
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, it is.
So,
It
but
is.
at that point, I had never heard of that.
Right.
You know, it was. I thought that was one of the terrible things that
Mhm.
SAG did to the actors
Right.
by saying, as an actor of color, you're not good enough to get paid regular.
Scale.
Right.
Regular
So
dollars.
we're
Well,
just, so
it's
if you
worse
hire
now.
so many,
Oh.
many actors of color, we're gonna give you a deal. You get that special clearance.
Well, let's
Right.
not even go there. You know, you,
No, but-
you have a,
yeah, but when
a
you're
star
working,
making 20 million and then everybody else making
Right.
scale.
Yeah.
but not
Right
even
on
scale.
down.
All I'm
Yeah.
saying is that it wasn't even scale. That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah.
it was.
It
I
was,
remember
it was a
going.
lot for me.
I remember going into the first audition and thinking this is going to be a huge movie.
Really?
Really, from the first
Absolutely.
audition?
From the
Oh.
first time I read it, I said this is going to be a huge
That's what
movie.
I thought when I
There
first
was
read it.
there I never looked at it like, oh, this is a PBS thing. I kept going, this ain't PBS. This is a movie.
No, it's like we had been waiting for this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then it came.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I read it, I was like, whatever you guys need,
Yeah.
I'll do.
I knew it was
Yeah.
special. I didn't
Yeah.
think it was going to have the legs that it has had, that it
Yeah.
would become a classic.
Yeah.
That I had no idea.
That's
true.
But
Well,
it
then
really
Eddie
has.
would get recognized. I didn't
Yeah.
know if Eddie would
Yeah.
get recognized.
I knew he would get recognized
Yeah.
too, because I remember reading
That was exciting.
it going, this is Oscar material.
Mhm.
That part.
I remember, I thought it was one of the best scripts
Mhm.
that I had written just in general. It just read
wrote it?
so
You
well.
read. You read. She had
Yeah, you
read.
read.
No, I read that I read. It was
Well-
thank you. One of the best read scripts,
Yeah.
written scripts that I had read. You had mentioned all the callbacks, so I want to get from the actors what it felt like to go on. I had never been on 8 callbacks for a project.
Mhm.
So what did it feel like to you?
How many have callbacks did you
Did you
I
have
don't
eight?
know there was that many.
I
but,
had
mean,
7 callbacks.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would log. I was very diligent about logging all my stuff down.
They really.
And I remember the last callback going in there and saying, "I'm not coming back, so you better decide what you want."
Yeah, I remember
That's
that.
funny.
You remember that?
Everybody was getting sick of
I
it.
was
yeah.
like-
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I had
I
that
agree.
many. I think maybe I had 4. I think the more
Including,
callbacks,
including your original,
my initial,
and then
my
and
initial,
4 more.
Yeah, I think so. And well, for me, I think the more I came back, the more confident I became because I felt like I just became to gel more between me and the character,
Well, what it,
and
I'm
almost
sorry.
become the character.
What it is
Just-
that
But
you had the part.
He had
Oh,
he looked
oh.
the part.
Yeah.
He- that-
So you
yeah,
didn't
that's
need you
the
didn't
thing.
need all the
I
callbacks.
see.
You were difficult.
Yeah.
You were
Yes, because they didn't know where to put
I was-
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I was difficult as shit.
No, but I remember.
But I only had
I
wait because
remember
I only
Ramon
had
walking me outside and taking me down and saying,
Because you could have been.
I
any
don't know
number
which
of
one,
roles.
because
You
I
did.
read all of them, and he said, "So what do you want to play?" I said, "But That's your job
That's
to
your
tell
job.
me what to
And then
play.
I would
Right.
sit. He had me
Right.
sit in the chair, and and I would go, "I'm
Well,
ready." He would go,
you're
"Just
not
shut
counting
up."
the matching things. Are you counting that?
The at the end.
Yeah, where everybody would line up and.
I remember that.
No,
Out on
I
the
did
lawn.
that once.
Yeah.
I remember
I know,
on the
I know,
lawn
I
on
know.
San Vicente.
Yeah.
I did that. I did that
Tony and
once.
Jackie's.
Yeah.
I did that once.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I remember. I read once, and because I remember when you called me, and then every time I got called back, I would go in, and Ramon would have me sit in the chair, and I was there with the script, and it was all new to me. I was kind of excited, you know. And then I would sit there a couple minutes. He'd go, "Thank you for coming in, thank you." And I'm like, "Well, didn't do anything." Like, and I came back a couple times. Then the last time I came in was when that whole bagel thing happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us
And,
about the
and-
bagel thing.
Well, all right, this is what happened. I was down to $39 and like 59 cents in my bank account. I literally just walked off the job because I told the guy I have a call back and I got to go to this. And he said, "You can't go. It's a Saturday. We were doing brunch." And I went, "I got to go." I quit. And I left. And I got over to the casting and I walked in. It was early. It was really early. And I come in and Ramon is eating a bagel. You guys, you know, and I come in and I sit down in the chair and I got the script and I got my notes, you know, and I'm sitting there and like I'm kind of oblivious, like nobody's saying anything to me. And I looked at Ramon and I said, "You have another one of those?" He goes, "What?" Because I stopped and he goes, "What?" I said, "A bagel." He goes, "Yeah, they're in the kitchen." They're, you know, so I got up and I went in the kitchen and I sat on the sink and I toasted the bagel and he came out and went, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I went, "I'm eating a bagel." He was like, "Get in there." I go, "You don't need me in there. You never need me in there. Like I just sit in the chair." And I went, and oh my God, remember we got into this fucking argument.
I know.
And
We
it
got into this
continued
argument.
throughout the
Yeah, we
shoot.
did. Into this argument. Tony was like, "Oh my God."
Funny is that.
You argued your way into the
Yeah.
part.
So I wanted to ask you, Victor, what was your experience getting cast?
It was interesting because there were so many callbacks, but I was making a living doing commercials, and there were several callbacks, and I think after the fourth commercial callback, you actually got paid. So you were waiting to get called back maybe a seventh or an eighth time for Colgate or some product, just to get paid. I think at that point it was $20. So they kept calling me back. I read for Danny's role. I have to say, and there's no reflection on the casting process, but the producer director, we had a couple of times I was sized up outside on San Vicente Boulevard when they would put you together, me with you. For some reason, me with Carla. You know, I'm sure you and I stood together.
Mhm.
I remember standing next to Lou, and I forgot who else, and they were shooting all these pictures. And they didn't really tell us, I mean, I had an idea why, but it just seemed like there was a bit of confusion as to how these pieces of the chessboard were going to all fit together. But it was fun. It was fun, exciting. For me, it was fast. Again, I was used to that type of, audition process where you got something or you didn't. And commercials is much more brutal.
So you got cast as originally.
Chuco. And then I got brought in. I was told I was going to be Jaime Jr. So that's pretty much how that was.
And how did you get cast?
Well, I had been doing the auditioning, you know, and I actually met Ramon like 2 years prior, you know, so I had been hanging out with the guys, and it was pretty much an integral part of the whole process. When Victor came in and they told me he was going to do Chuco, they asked me to take him to East LA. So we were hanging out, you know. We were hanging out in East
Couple
LA.
days, I don't remember, a weekend or something.
At night,
At
you know,
night.
on some street corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doing research?
Your life
Yeah,
is-
yes.
Doing research, yeah.
I was surprised when suddenly he took me outside. They were rehearsing, and he took me outside and he said, "Okay, we gotta run these lines." And I'm like, "Why are we running lines?" He goes, "Because you're gonna audition right now for that part." I go, "Well, we already got Victor." He goes, "No, you know, let's do this."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay." So I went in.
Because
You know-
what happened was Eddie came up to me. There was a talk, and they said they were trying to piece, like you were saying, piece things together. And I remember that you were pulling some cable, and I went up to the script, and I went, "Come on, we have to go outside."
Yeah.
And I come outside, and I'm telling him, you have to do this line, and he's rehearsing the line. And I tell him, dude, you gotta do it like you want to kill my mother. And I tell him, like, you just gotta think that in the back of your head. And he's doing it, and then okay, sure. I mean, that's what it was. He read.
So so we went
did the
in.
finger line
We went
thing
back
and
in,
then-
and in the middle of your rehearsal,
Yeah.
I'm doing the lines, and then you're like, all right, and then that was it.
All unknown to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that
They
once
recast
It was,
yourself.
once Eddie almost came in, it sort of became sort of like Eddie's thing versus Ramon's thing.
Yeah, because remember that one scene
Right.
that remember you?
And
My-
Ramon wasn't that happy about what went down
Yeah.
because it was not what he wanted.
The hardest thing is, again, you have a high school group of kids. You have to know that it looks okay, feels okay, they look all good together. That's a lot of
The
that
feel, yeah,
visually,
yeah, absolutely.
Ingrid and you.
Yeah.
How are you going to look
Right.
together
Yeah,
as a
right,
couple?
right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
that's the difference.
Right.
You know, I was in Illinois doing a search for kids because, again, a director who wants normal kids. I was like, oh gosh. And I used Stand and Deliver sides for the high school kids to read because I figured, well, they'll be able to relate, right? And so, again, they freeze. So I then have to figure out what to do.
Yeah.
Can I play with them? Can I do improv with them? And again, one will come out and, it'll be, oh my gosh, this guy just, he gets it. I don't know why he gets it, but he gets it. So it's very rare. But again, it just takes time. And when you see the real kids,
And
see,
budget.
yes,
It
and
takes
Ramon
time and
saw,
budget.
Ramon
That's right.
saw the kids in high school. That's the problem.
But see, along the lines to what you're saying, that it takes time. I was very lucky because if I had read like earlier on, I would not have understood what I was doing. But I had been watching these guys
Yeah.
for weeks now
Oh.
and editing their takes.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, I see what he's doing. Oh, I see what he's doing. So it's a matter of like, as Eddie calls it, understanding. A lot of these high school kids, like you say, they've never seen anything.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you put them in that situation and you show them,
Their
they,
brother
they
could
do
be in a
pick it up.
gang, but they can't pretend to be their brother.
Right,
Right.
exactly. I wanted to go around the table and ask, and you included, what was your best takeaway from the film, or what inspired you in doing the film? It's like, we had grueling days as cast members. We were there 16, 17-hour days. The turnaround was unbelievable. We didn't have that 12-hour turnaround. There was a lot of great things that came out of it. So I wanted to find out how it impacted everybody here
Right.
on a positive in doing the film,
Sure.
not after, but in
Right.
doing it.
One thing you brought up, when you read the script, you knew it was going to be an important film, and I felt the same way. I knew that I was part of something that was separate from what I've been watching on television and separate from the films that we were being exposed to. It was just such a wonderful thing to be a part of, considering the other product that was out there. So for me, recently, this was really funny. I was in Montebello buying a cell phone, and one of these kids that was selling it to me recognized me. And I said, well, how did you know this? Because he said, you were Stand and Deliver. But that was like 29 years ago. So tell me something. He goes, listen, everybody that lives in Montebello, Pico Rivera, East LA, and even Whittier has seen the film. Like they show it at school.
More than once, like
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
times.
At least, but I never knew that, and that really got me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was your takeaway filming?
Filming
Yes.
in the process.
Yes,
of filming?
in the process.
I think when I read it, I felt like a very special story, and for me to have been part of that, and so early on, I think it just set a standard, of quality and story, because we're all storytellers, but we all have to survive too. And I've never, even when I moved into casting, I've always been very story driven, and that really helped to set a standard. As to the quality and the types of stories that I wanted to help tell. I've never slid down or taken a job that I didn't feel that I could either do a good job in, or that it was a story that I felt, that I didn't need to be a part of. But, it's for me, it set a standard, in story. And it was nice to have that so early on that I could just, reflect back to that and go, yeah, no, I'm gonna keep going, higher.
It's good. And for you, what was your takeaway?
Well, I mean, just being in the business was because it was my first film. I didn't know how to remember my lines. I remember once Ramon looked at me because I had written the lines and I taped them to somebody's back.
No, you didn't.
And he goes, "What are you doing?" I
Was
go,
that
"You
one of
couldn't
the
see
Ghana
it."
kids?
He was whoever was in front of me. I would tape it. And I would tape it on the
God,
ground and
that
everything.
is funny.
But my
Yes.
experience was that I had been accused of cheating on a test to go into college. I was going into
Yeah.
Culinary Institute of America, and I got accused of cheating, and I had to go back and take the test. So when I went to the audition, I remember
Again.
saying that, like, you know, this is me. Like, I can totally recognize this, you know. I just didn't know about the acting. And so I learned from everybody, like everybody. I watched everyone incredibly. I was not shy about watching what he was doing and watching what Patrick was doing, watching what you were doing, and that helped me focus. And it also made me feel, like you said, there was a standard there. And I decided, being a big guy and being Latino, they always want to typecast you. Everybody here knows that. And I fought against that as much as I could. Because I thought it was just important. I knew
Yeah.
the film was a great film, you know.
Yeah.
I met, you know, family. That process and the people that I met and the whole journey of it helped me to kind of settle myself and go, wow, this is something that I really enjoy doing.
What was your big, exciting moment doing the film? Because that also was your first
Right.
film.
Well, I could never say there's one big exciting moment because every day was exciting. I mean, I've never felt like getting up for something the way that I would for the movie. I would get up like really early. And I'm not a morning person at all.
That's right.
And I would drive from East LA to West Hollywood, you know, early on, and then when we were in
Foothills,
Silver Lake,
yeah.
and I just couldn't believe how to this day I can't believe how lucky I am to have found these guys, you know, because as we were saying to each other earlier, I had been waiting for this story, you know, and when I saw it, I was like, I'm gonna be a part of it,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and like
That would
anything.
be so important, and for us to be part of it, and it to become so historical is, you know, quite amazing.
Absolutely.
I also love the fact that we are all still together,
Oh yeah,
and
that's
that we're like siblings.
Yes, we are.
We're like
Yes,
siblings.
we are.
Like, he's my crazy brother, and you know,
And you fix your
and
car,
Ingrid-
though.
you're my loud sister.
And Ingrid, we can't forget Ingrid.
Yeah,
Ingrid.
and
That's
Carla,
right.
and we're all
Everybody.
still
Yes.
bonded together,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's for me, that's like amazing.
It's very rare.
Yeah, it's cool.